The Wilmington Public Safety Strategies Commission. We are here because we all have a responsibility to address the challenges facing Wilmington, and we can only be successful if the leaders of the city, of Newcastle County, and of the state are working together to ensure that we take the most effective approach to fighting crime. And I very much appreciate the commitment of all of the members of the Commission and the leadership of Lew Schiliro and Joe Bryant to fulfill that mission. I want to thank the members of the General Assembly, particularly with the leadership of the entire city delegation, because the General Assembly unanimously passed the resolution that provides the framework for the Commission's work. I want to thank Chris Kervick and the Criminal Justice Council for their help tonight. Pretty much the entire office stayed late to help out tonight, and we are grateful to them for all the work that they've done and all the work that they will continue to do. I also want to thank the hundreds of Wilmingtonians, including members of the clergy, of other community groups, elected officials like Councilman Brown, who's sitting here, and the mayor and others, who have taken an active role in working to stop the violence on our streets. Your efforts are vital, and we want you to be fully engaged in the work of the Commission. Now, members of the Commission and the outstanding consultant team will spend a lot of time over the next couple of months analyzing information about crime and public safety in Wilmington, but there is a reason that we created a public body with public meetings, and we know that the community's participation is absolutely vital to stop violence in the city, and we want to hear from members of the public, and we hope that many Wilmingtonians will participate in this process. The root causes of crime are many, and we as a state must be focused on all of the issues that impact economic opportunity and the security of our communities. But we also know that other cities that have been plagued by crime and plagued by violence have seen dramatic reductions in violent crime by finding and implementing the most effective public safety strategies for their communities. And if they can do it, so can Wilmington. So this commission has a very specific mission over the next 2 months. Under the resolution passed by the General Assembly, you're charged with conducting a rapid, intensive, and comprehensive examination of public safety strategies in the City of Wilmington. That includes examining which public safety strategies work and which do not work, not just here, but nationally and regionally as well. Your mission includes examining ways that we can better coordinate existing crime-fighting strategies, and it includes recommending actionable strategies that can be implemented quickly to stem the tide of violence. Your work should be thoughtful and diligent, but it must reflect the urgency of the situation. And I believe that we should be particularly optimistic that we can find solutions and the change is possible here in Wilmington. Just in recent days, local and national media have taken notice of a surge in housing development happening in the city, part of an effort to attract a new generation of people to live and work and play here. More than $140 million is being invested because real estate developers are confident that the demand for high-quality housing in Wilmington is high.
Yes, good evening. My name is Dwight Davis. I'm the president of the Motivational Center Incorporated. I was born in the city of Wilmington, educated in Wilmington Public Schools. Matter of fact, part of my education was right here at this Y that we call the Black Y. I graduated from Delaware State College, and for the last almost 40 years, I've been the president actively of the Model Cities Motivational Center. I've been to and participated in a lot of strategic plans. They're all fine until it's time to implement. And when it's time to implement and the money shows up, it's the same old vendors that continue to receive the contracts, to implement or not implement, or to continue to get paid for non-performance. The problem concerning the City of Wilmington and the state of Delaware is structural. It's insidious and it's structural. It's a manufactured crisis. What you see in the streets of Wilmington are not there by coincidence. They're there because they are the result, not the cause. The young men standing on the corners of the City of Wilmington were not responsible for the mortgage foreclosure failure. They weren't responsible for the Wilmington Trust being defrauded and eventually taken over. They're not responsible for the export of jobs overseas. The problem that you're attempting to address is a problem that speaks to a moral and spiritual decay of our system of governance. The reason that you see what you see is because individuals in shirts and ties that occupy elected, appointed, and political positions look the other way when fraud and corruption takes place in government institutions. That is the reason that you see a failure on the part of our children to get a good education. There were three things that slavery did that was different than any other slavery that ever existed in the world that happened to our people. Number one was that it was against the law for us to learn how to read. Now, people may think that we should just get over 400 years of not being permitted to learn how to read. Second, we were the only form of slavery where the slaves were dehumanized. We were treated as non-human beings. And third, we were in fact the first international commodity traded all over the world. Now you may think that that shouldn't impact what's taking place today, but I'll say this to you. We are locked at the hip. The African Americans are locked at the hip to the success or failure of this country. And if we're not successful, this country is not going to be successful. From the courts, the Chancery Court, that in this city, we've been fighting a case in the Delaware Court of Chancery for 12 years, where over $5 million was taken from our neighborhoods. And everyone that we've attempted to address has looked the other way. Your judicial, your government have all put a sign out in front of us for sale. So from arrest to conviction, I take my hat off to law enforcement. And the reason that I do is because they are the ones that are on the front line that have to meet us in the neighborhoods. They have to meet the young men and women on the corners in the neighborhoods. But the people that are making decisions, the people that are letting the contracts for non-performance, those are the individuals that are responsible for the moral, spiritual decline of our government, of our country. I love this government, I love my city, but I feel so bad, it hurts my heart to see so many of young men, unemployed, uneducated, drugs. It hurts my heart to see us being destroyed, and you say that we're destroying ourselves. I respect Governor Markell very much, but the educational committee that he put together that recently produced a preliminary report doesn't even begin to address what's necessary for us to increase the performance of our children. It was a cut and paste of all the other reports. The individuals on that committee were all vendors. And I say this to my Christian community, the churches. Our churches have become vendors. They're not preaching the word of God. They are only participating in becoming vendors for contracts. So they can't even look the people in their face. So I'm ready to work with whoever's ready to work with me. But if you're not ready to work at the level that I'm presently working on, and I'll end it on this, we've already petitioned the Delaware General Assembly to impeach and remove a vice chancellor of the Delaware Court of Chancery for violations of judicial conduct that is connected directly to what's taking place in our community. So I thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to speak, and I trust that we'll be able to work together in the future. Thank you very much.
Natasha Ricks.
Hi, I'm a little bit nervous, so just bear with me. But my name is Natasha Ricks.